we are live on Spaces for Sunday. Here we go. Let's wait for George to come in here and Johnny. Myself all set up here as well. Hope everybody had a good weekend. What's up, George? There he is. How you doing, buddy? Invite to co-host. How's it going, George? Now I can. There we go. Yeah, you sound a lot better too. That is a lot clearer. Nice.
I'm ready to roll. Ready to roll.
Nice.
Johnny texted me a little while ago.
He texted you a little while ago?
There it is. So
we kind of cut out there for a second. What's up, buddy?
Hang on. Let me turn this back up.
Yeah, it's a good tester. Figure out the best way for
okay.
your...
How's that?
Oh, that's perfect, my friend. That sounds great. There's Johnny.
I'm adjusting the volume here. Hey, before we officially introduce the guest, I wanted to take a quick minute, and what you guys listen to is me and Jake all the time, but what you don't see or hear is the man behind the scenes, our behind the scenes guy. He's Chuck Franklin, who helps us out with some images and sounds and stuff like that. And he helps me get everything that you see and hear together. And without him, I'm lost. So.
Yeah, no, he's been a big help for me too.
You.
Yeah, we appreciate Chuck. That's why he's shouted out in our in the description of every video.
Yeah. Now,
what's up, Johnny? How you doing, my friend?
Now we have one half of the Squared Circle Maniacs and fellow member of the Old Horsemen, Johnny Bottle. Let's see if Johnny's going to... There he is.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good, we Johnny, are good. How are you, my friend?
Not too bad. I wasn't sure I could do this on a PC. I had to send a message to George to find out what's going on.
I got back to you fast.
Yes, my fellow Old Horseman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's funny. The first times I did them on PC, and then I tried it once on my phone, and it was a pain. It was complete pain, so I only do it through my laptop now.
Phone's worse.
I'll tell you what, if you Google, can I participate in a Twitter space on a PC, the AI in Google will tell you can't do it.
Oh, that's nice.
And that's cute. And then you had all these, it says that you got to do it on the mobile app. You can't do it on a desktop. And then I'm looking at Reddit, and Reddit saying, oh yeah, you can do it this way. You can do it that way, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I can't do it on Reddit. I can't do it. I can't do this. I can't do that from like 4 years ago, post from 4 years ago.
Yeah,
so the Google AI, when it serves you up, is, not as good as Grok. I should have asked Grok. That's what I should have done.
Everything. Grok knows all.
Yes.
It's hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes you get the right information. Other times, you're like, wait, what is that? That's not, no. Hey, one time, when I asked, Grok about how to transfer recorded spaces to put it to YouTube, and it put what it thought of our page, and it was like, oh, well, AltJake is most likely Jake Hagar. What? No. I'm like, my last name starts with the letter ALT. That's where I got the name, and from the band AltJ. I promise you I don't have a purple hat, guys. I promise.
So, Johnny, this is going to lead me into my first subject. What were your thoughts on the passing of Rick Derringer?
What a rock and roll. Just a guitarist's guitarist. 16 years old with the McCoys singing Hang On Sloopy back in the late 60s. Was it the late 60s or the mid 60s? I can't remember. It's been so long ago. I love that song when I was a kid.
I think it was mid. Yeah.
65, 66, I guess. I can't look it up right now, but yeah. Rick Derringer was fantastic with that song. And then when he joined the Edgar Winter group, Free Ride, Frankenstein, all those songs. I saw a video. I saw a video from the 70s, from the Midnight Special yesterday. I was going down a Rick Derringer rabbit hole on YouTube last night.
Nice.
Smoking a blunt and drinking a mixed drink. And I said, why is Rick Derringer playing bass for the Edgar Winter group? And Dan Hartman, the bass player, is playing rhythm guitar and singing lead on this song, Free Ride. And then you got some other schmuck who used to play with Ronnie Montrose playing lead guitar on this song. Why are they doing it that way? And then I found out
that
Because they could. And I found out that Dan Hartman collaborated on a Free Ride. He co-wrote the song. The guy saying, I Can Dream About You. Remember that song?
Yes.
From the 80s? I can dream about you. That sort of thing.
Yes.
Everybody thought it was a Hall & Oates song when it first came out. It came out from the movie, the soundtrack of Streets of Fire. Remember that movie, Streets of Fire?
It's so funny you say that. I worked at a record store. I graduated high school in 2000. I worked at a record store from 2000 to 2004. People all the time thought that song was Hall & Oates. They're like, I can't find what Hall & Oates song that's off. It's not a Hall & Oates song. That happened all the time. I hadn't thought about that in forever. That's hilarious.
I tell you what, man. They had some great tunes on that soundtrack for that movie. Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young. Countdown to Love. By a guy named Greg Fillinganes, who was a keyboard player for Michael Jackson. And it was just fantastic stuff on that soundtrack album. And from that movie itself, it's a great slice of the 80s. It happens in the 80s, but you would think it happens in the 1930s, going by the way the town looks and the old-time vehicles and the clothing they wore. It was fantastic. But they played rock and roll music in this nightclub. Diane Lane, who was, for you kids out there, she was the Martha Kent in Batman vs. Superman and Superman Man of Steel. She was Clark Kent's mother. Diane Lane, pin-up from those days, man. She was hot.
Yes.
Hot as a pistol, as they say.
Yes.
And Willem Dafoe was the bad guy, culminating in a sledgehammer fight. I've never seen that in a movie before. Two guys just wailing each other with sledgehammers in the middle of the street. Great movie. Check it out. Oh, you kids out
Triple H got the idea? That makes sense.
No, could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Back when 80s movies had the soundtracks that actually mattered too, or they would get like original songs for the soundtracks where they were actually really put together, as opposed to, hey, what does the studio own the rights to? All right, we can pick from these 50 songs. Right, but this one over here would really fit the scene. Yeah, but we don't own it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's gonna lead me into what I wanted to talk about first, was the importance of music in wrestling.
Oh yeah,
he wrote
Real America.
It starts off. I'm gonna go history wise here. Mm-hmm. Started off with like Gorgeous George in the 40s using music constantly for his entrances, and then we get to other areas, and that's where I kind of wanted you guys to take the music business in wrestling for me, if you could.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'll let Johnny go first for sure.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh,
you're fine. No, please.
Oh, okay.
Please.
They played a lot of music as entrance music in the 80s. They didn't have the rights to it. There was a lot of that on Crockett, on the Crockett shows, until they got he got a few takedown notices, I guess, whatever they were called back in the day. Hey, you can't be doing that. You got to pay us. So that's when some young man back then, a fresh-faced young man, created the song Bad Street USA. Because they were coming out to Freebird for the longest time.
Yeah.
And the live version, you can't do that. You can't play that. So the indie shows still do it to this day. The indie shows did it back then. And it was just the nature of the beast. It beats coming out the crickets. It beats coming out the nothing. So who actually did that? You say Gorgeous George, but back in the modern era, which would go, like, what do you think? The modern era goes back to the 80s, I guess.
Yeah, if you look, it credits Sergeant Slaughter with the official first time, and then of course Hogan claims it was him. So,
well, of course, I mean
that's true. He does. He actually says.
Slaughter came out to what?
I mean, because Slaughter would have came out to like a military march, right? Because he was a drill sergeant. So he came out to
John Philip Sousa.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that would make sense. Or some kind of American march. I know there was the point in like the territories where people started seeing other folks do it. I always kind of think the modern era in my head starts at least with like when national TV hit, where you could see it everywhere. So on regional TV, you just had a tape player. Somebody's got a cassette player with the microphone. You could play whatever song you want. I mean, the Von Erichs came out to Tom Sawyer by Rush. I think every time they came out as a team together, that was their song.
And I guarantee Geddy Lee saw not a nickel from that.
Yeah, and that's why that's one of the problems too with like the modern transfers over that you get on what used to be the WWE network, I guess, is now Peacock and probably eventually will be Netflix in the US that it is worldwide, where those things transfer over and they have to put a generic song over it. And you see the crowd bopping their head on an offbeat because they couldn't get the right song. And it really does make a difference. I mean, music's probably one of the things that really drew me in as a kid in the early 90s. Like I remember probably one of the reasons why The Undertaker struck such a core with me as a kid was because his music was different. You know, it was that funeral march and it wasn't the cheap 80s or 90s pop, you know, dance music that everybody had that was different, and that really sets the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing with music, I feel like people, and I think people complain about it where it's like, oh, when they do the run-in and they play the music, like they have to get the music set up, like, don't they just have a board that just presses one button and like, oh, here comes Jimmy Uso. All right, we'll play his song. Oh, there goes Cody. We can hit the button for his song. I don't think it's not like it was before where they had to set in the tape and kind of put it all in. The music's always been important for me with wrestling.
Cool. So let's see here. What else I got for you, Johnny? Johnny, can you perhaps explain what you and Don do and what the name of your show is and what you guys do weekly?
The origin story of the Squared Circle Maniacs?
Yes.
Yes, I came on Twitter maybe about 3 years ago, because I joined the ranks of the retired back then. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to explore different things. And a buddy of mine said, why don't you open up a Twitter account? Just see what's on there. You read the news. They got great news on Twitter. And I didn't realize the IWC was so prevalent on Twitter. I had no idea. And I was always into wrestling, even from when I was a little kid. I loved professional wrestling. So I got on there and I was just commenting on different stories from wrestling, different comments. I was replying to different people, and they had the hashtag SCM in their posts. So I asked this guy, Motorhead711, if he's listening, he'll be happy his name was mentioned. He's probably sitting there right now, smoking a spliff, saying, Motorhead. Yeah, they mentioned Motorhead. They mentioned me. Motorhead711 is his name. He's still alive. Thank God. And, good friend of mine, Motorhead711 said, oh, man, we love wrestling, man. That stands for Squared Circle Maniacs or Squared Circle Mafia. And guys use it two different ways. I prefer Maniacs. There's like 13, 14 of us. And they're in a group chat on Twitter and they talk back and forth about wrestling, the old school days and all that stuff. And I said, well, how do you join this? I'll put you in. Don't worry about it. You're a member right now. I said, great. And that's when I ran into Don Wayne. And I don't want to say I roasted a couple people on Twitter, but I did. And Don goes, dude, he sent me a voice message in my DMs. I said, what the hell is this? Because I didn't know anything about it. What's this squiggly line? And I clicked on it to play. Dude, you sound like my drunken 80-year-old uncle. That's great. I'm thinking, that's a compliment, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. And then he called me again and went on this whole Hulk Hogan impression. You know how Don gets. Yep. Those sons of bitches on there, pal. Let me tell you something, brother. He's going back and forth about the IWC, talking about current events and music. I mean, and wrestling and all that. I said, this guy is a wild man. And then, next thing you know, we fell into Totem Pole Nation. They were friends of the SCM. They had a YouTube channel where it was sports centric, football. They had a morning show called Life Lessons where two guys would sit there and talk about, the effect of the world on your on your mental state, and you got to chill out. And if you, you do good things in life, work hard at your job, things like that. It was a feel good kumbaya, sing a hymn type show in the morning. I was on that. And, we got to do a wrestling podcast. Why don't you guys at the SCM do a show? You guys could do a show. We want a wrestling show on our channel. So they held like an open audition. And it was me and Motorhead and Don and Scud Bongson, who didn't want to do it, but that was his name. He was only strictly audio. He didn't have a camera. And out of the 13 guys, 14 guys, just like 4 or 5 of us showed up and we talked a little bit of wrestling. And the guy who ran the board backed out and just let us go. And after an hour, he came in and wrapped the show up. He said, you guys have a show. You could do a show every week on this channel. So we decided who wanted to do it. Nice. Scud didn't want to do it. So it was me, Motorhead, and Don. We did it for a while, and Motorhead had job and familial
Obligations.
Obligations. That's a good word. Yeah, it just came back to me now. Yeah. Obligations. Obligations they had to take care of on a daily basis, and he couldn't do the show anymore. So, it was just distilled down to me and Don, maybe about a year and a half ago.
Whittled down to the perfect tag team. You just had to work out the right kinks to find the right group. Yeah, no, that's funny about the way you say Don, because he, the first time I ever interacted with him, he came on one of the spaces here, and he was loud and boisterous and passionate, and there was people being like, whoa, and I'm like, hang on, no, I love this. I'm like, I'm all about this guy. This is great. Because I love the passion, I want people that are into it and have fun with it. Like even if we agree, disagree, which Don and I usually agree on a lot of things, we make each other laugh. But it's one of those situations I'd rather have somebody be passionate and excited about it than people being like, oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's more fun that way.
You weren't on Twitter last night about 8:00, were you?
I don't think so.
If you wanted passion, pal, there was a lot of passion from Don on Twitter 8:00 last night. That's all I'm going to say. He was in a space last night. And he blew it up.
I am not surprised.
He blew it up.
What's funny, I don't go into many other spaces anymore because like every time there's too much yelling and trying to figure things out with it. That's why I like the way we do it, where we kind of have more of a conversation. If people want to comment, they can put a comment into the chat and I'll be able to read it off or whatever. We don't have
That's perfect.
Everybody's going to be screaming at each other.
Right. I mean, especially if you get some of these spaces, they got 30 people listening and all want to talk.
Right.
And they all got their hands up.
Yes.
And how are you going to do this? I've been in a few of those. I said, this isn't for me. And that's why I questioned Don about AltJake and George doing their show and all that. So, well, when you were on there, what did you guys talk about? What'd you do? He goes, it's all mellow, dude. It's all, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't go crazy. I said, okay then.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Just an interview. That's all it is.
Yeah. Just more just a conversation. I look at it kind of like that. It's more of a round table kind of talk. You never know where it's going to lead. Have fun. I've got a spliff as well, so we're all good. Everybody's happy.
There you go.
We're trying to have fun. There's I feel like there's enough automatic like negativity in the space where people just want to argue or want to nitpick. And I mean, there's plenty of bad things. Like we can just have fun. If there is bad, we can joke about it, have fun with it, but we can also just have a good time and have a good conversation with it. And so far, that's been the biggest positive receptions that we've gotten for this, is that people go, it's nice to actually hear a real conversation between people and go back and forth as opposed to just who can be louder until they leave.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, this is like a podcast, like just, a podcast you would see on YouTube or Spotify, people sitting around a table talking, that's what I prefer. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
That's the exact idea.
So, Johnny, you're a little bit older than I am. Who were your
why you got to rub that in?
I just said a little bit.
Too often.
I never get to say it, Johnny, ever.
How old are you,
the oldest
George,
guy in the group. That's why I asked you your age the one day. And I'm like, yeah, right. Woo.
I was waiting for him to say it. He's been holding on it.
Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up and when you were a youngster?
I was hooked when on Channel 45 in Baltimore, when Pro Wrestling Superstars or whatever the show was called, it wasn't a familiar WWF name back then, came on my screen at 4 p.m. with a Saturday afternoon. And I said, it was right after Jungle Jim Theater. Remember Jungle Jim when Johnny Weissmuller was Tarzan? He also played Jungle Jim. And they showed all these Jungle Jim movies on at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday afternoon. And I would watch those things, all the old black and white shit. I loved it. And then wrestling came on. Hey, what is this? And my father's walking by. Oh boy, that's the wrestlers on there. Boy, those are the groaners. The groaners he used to call them. And, I sat there and I watched Bruno Sammartino arm wrestle Professor Toru Tanaka to prove who was the strongest guy. And Professor Toru Tanaka looked like Oddjob from that James Bond movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He looked like that guy, like a sumo wrestler, not completely bald, crew cut, big muscles, big arms. And his tag team partner was the late, great Mr. Fuji. And they were managed by the Grand Wizard, I believe, at the time. And Tanaka cheated. He was holding on to the table. And still holding on to the table, Sammartino almost got his arm down. Then he flipped the table over on Sammartino. The salt was flying into the eyes. Steel chairs, the whole 9 yards. It was a big scrum. Vince McMahon jumped out of the way and backed off. I saw that, I was hooked. So I started watching all these guys. Baron Miguel Cicluna, if you remember that guy. Stan the Man Hansen with the heart punch. Classy Freddie Blassie when he actually was a wrestler. That's how long ago it was. He was a wrestler back then. And these guys were just unbelievable. They didn't have Hogan at the time. They did not have Hulk Hogan. This was Vince's father's company at the time.
Right.
Yes. And the guys that they had, I'm trying to remember, like the big baby face was Bruno Sammartino at the time. He was the man. And then you had Pedro Morales, who eventually got the belt back from a heel that beat Bruno. And I think Pedro
was did they have that? Was that the transfer?
Ivan Koloff, yes. Ivan Koloff was in the mix. All those Georgie Animal Steel. I actually thought that guy was some kind of animal, half man, half animal. I didn't know. I was never smart enough about that. It was the wildest stuff. I didn't miss an episode after that. I was just hooked on wrestling ever since. And it was strictly WWF for me until, by God, on Saturday afternoons at noon and Sunday afternoons at noon, the Crockett Company had an hour of professional wrestling from 12 to 1 on that same, no, it was a different channel, different UHF channel at the time, because the cable business exploded in the late 70s, early 80s, and they needed content, and all these UHF channels were providing all the content they needed for these cable companies. And TBS had Championship Wrestling. They had the Crockett promotion on there. It was glorious. When I saw Ric
you're
Flair,
right in the perfect wheelhouse in Baltimore too. Like Baltimore's right in that perfect area where it's south enough so that the Crockett can come up there and north enough where you can also get that both companies ran plenty of shows in Baltimore too, because when you hear the stories that the guys tell and stuff. So it's almost the perfect location to kind of get roped into it.
They all drew like crazy. Crockett, Vince, they all drew in the Baltimore Civic Center. That's what it was called at the time, the Baltimore Civic Center. I remember
I've been there.
I saw Crockett show down there. It was the Midnight Express and Cactus Jack against 3 babyface 4 horsemen, Flair, Arn, and Tully.
Wow.
And that wasn't even a main event. That was just fantastic.
And that wasn't even the main event.
It wasn't even the main event.
Star-studded of a match.
Yeah, because they stacked their shows. Too.
Yeah.
You just think like not only are all 6 of those guys stars, but like all of them are just phenomenal workers. So you were getting it like there was no way that wasn't going to be just some of the most entertaining stuff you could watch. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, good stuff.
So when did you officially get cable, Johnny? So I got it in 81. My parents got it in 81 because I was a sophomore in high school. I remember getting the Saturday night TBS show and I was like, oh my God, this is so much different than what I've been watching.
And it's such drastically different too.
So good.
Like visually, work wise.
I think it was 70.
Oh, you got it early.
78. It came through in our neighborhood. It was just a big black box that sat on top of your TV. I think you got like, you got 70, you got 60 channels on the box and a lot of them was just nothing on it. When you got up to when you got past 50, there was like nothing available on those channels until you got to like 70. And then it was like public access shit on there.
All I'm thinking of is the UHF movie with Weird Al Yankovic and all the shows he had on that.
Yes.
That's kind of the visual of it.
Yeah. And there was a long cable coming from the box. A long cable coming from the box with a paddle. And you couldn't turn the TV on with a remote. You had to get up and press the button. And you just had a rotary knob on the paddle. That's how you change channels. Yes.
The old days.
Analog, baby. Analog.
And they actually made a clicking noise.
Yes.
Analog.
A little click. Yes.
Yeah, but that's there's probably no better way to grow up into it and just kind of sinks your teeth in as a fan clearly for life. I mean, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm purposely staying away from the new stuff as much as I can. So I'm staying with the old stuff. When you were
more entertained that way
with cable TV,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
With cable TV, with cable TV, I also was exposed to World Class Championship Wrestling after a while.
That's where I was going. Thank you.
Which came on ESPN.
Right.
Hey, it's a new network, ESPN. It's coming to your cable channels and your cable box. Oh, great. Let's put that on. 4:00 in the afternoon after school. World Class Championship Wrestling. Fantastic. And then when they lost the deal, Global Wrestling Federation came on with Joe Pedicino. Joe Pedicino was the brain behind Global Wrestling Federation. And it was all the dregs of like people who were on their way out of the business and people who were trying to get ahead in the business. And it was guys like, it was Missy Hyatt and Rod. What was the guy's name? Rod.
I know that Fat Jake was there. Fat Jake the Snake.
Fat Jake the Snake.
If I remember the out of shape, the out of shape snake.
It was Matt. It was Matt. Who was the guy who was like a fake Jake the Snake, but he was fat?
I can't help you.
Yeah, Global Force. I haven't seen much.
Global Force was a quick blip on the ESPN screen.
Right.
Jamie. I'm sorry.
Yes. If you blinked, you would have missed it. It wasn't there long.
I blinked.
It wasn't there long at all.
But ESPN, I was surprised. Well, I wasn't, not so much surprised as I think I was, because they didn't have any programming when they first started. So you were seeing all sorts of weird shit on ESPN.
Softball championships and quote unquote sports. Yeah.
That's the world's strongest man competition started around that time, I believe, and it was big. I mean, they drew big numbers on ESPN. That's what they kept doing. Yeah. I'm searching for Global Wrestling Federation. Global Wrestling Federation roster. I want to see who those guys were.
Yeah,
I know there was a father and son tag team on there.
Were the Papos on Global Force or no? I don't think so.
No, they weren't. It was guys like Jeff Gaylord, John Tatum.
Oh, wow.
I'm looking at it right now. The Von Erichs actually made an appearance. Kevin and Kerry as a tag team against their tag team. Sunny Beach. Remember Sunny Beach?
Yes.
Tony Anthony, Dirty White Boy. He was on there.
Yeah. Wow.
And guess who debuted? Guess who started his wrestling career in Global Force Wrestling?
Hint. Give me a hint.
He's not in the business now. He had a lot of addiction problems. He had calf
that helps.
implants.
That narrows it down.
Oh, Buff Bagwell. The calf
Buff Bagwell. He was known as the handsome stranger. And he would walk out like a Chippendale.
Yeah, he had the mask on.
He had like the little Kato mask from the Green Hornet and carried a bouquet of roses and gave it to some large young lady large lady in the front row and gave her a little
large
kiss.
Grandma.
Yeah, they showed like a blip of that in his Dark Side of the Ring episode, because that was, Missy Hyatt talked about that with the handsome stranger, and then it moved right past it quickly, but I do remember seeing that blip of that. I'd forgotten he started in there. Wow.
That's when I talked about older guys coming out of the business and younger guys coming in. It was a lot of father-son acts in Global Wrestling Federation. Scott Putski and Ivan Putski.
Okay, that makes sense.
They were in there. Yes. And, good Lord, the Cuban Assassin, Big Bill Bully Busick. I'm not going to go down all these, but
how long did Global last, Johnny?
Let's see.
A couple of years.
3 glorious years. 91 to 94.
I was going to say 2. Okay, I was going to say 2. Yeah. And how long were they hanging on ESPN?
They were hanging on by their skin of their teeth for that last year, I guess. Buddy Roberts, without the Freebirds, was in this organization. Oh. Buddy Roberts. Cactus Jack was there for a cup of coffee. Wow.
Yeah, I do remember.
There's that weird period where Mick showed up all sorts of places. Like he showed up in, what was it, Herb Abrams' promotion for a little bit. He shows up in different Japans. Yeah.
Now, this
he's
guy's
like the Forrest Gump of wrestling.
This guy's been around a long time. Jerry Lynn. He was Jerry Lynn. He also wrestled under a mask as the Avenger in Global Force Wrestling.
Yeah, he's a agent.
Well, I keep calling it Global Force Wrestling. It's Global Wrestling Federation. I keep calling it Global Force. It's Global Wrestling Federation. Global Force is the Jeff
Global
Jarrett
Force
thing.
Is, yep, that's it. Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett.
Well, they're both promotions that like came out of the ashes of other things and didn't last that long. And it's the same letters in the anagram. Yeah, that's an easy mistake to make. I'm just dyslexic enough where I'll do that too.
There was a overweight wrestler there. He was built like Earthquake. His name was Tug Taylor. He was on his way out of the business. and he brought his young son Chaz in to try to get him in the business. That's another father and son act there. Coco Beware was even in there. And Vince said, you can't call yourself Coco Beware, so he decided to change his name to Coco Ware.
There you go.
Coco or Jimmy Garvin, a lot of these guys, the Patriot. Look at the Adrian Street. Good Lord. There's a who's who of wrestling classics.
Of people. Yeah, I was just going to say, you get people that trying to get that last paycheck and get that last, push for glory.
Yeah.
You reminded me of someone when you mentioned the name there, John. I remember Adrian Adonis on WWF TV.
Yes.
Before he was the beautiful Adrian character.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, where you wore the leather
jacket. Yeah. And
the hat, yeah.
Motorcycle cap.
Yeah.
He's a tough guy, Monsoon. That's what Jesse Ventura kept saying. He's a tough guy.
Uh-huh. I like that era because that's my most fun time to watch for me until we get to the next subject, which is the Monday Night War era. But
okay.
Any other favorites from the old days there, sir?
Oh Lord, just Ricky Steamboat in WWF, Ric Flair, Art Anderson, Ole Anderson, just the Anderson brothers as a tag team. They were fantastic. I loved it when it came on. Cornette and the Midnight Express, all the iterations of it.
Did you go to a lot of shows as a kid, or was it something that you could, did you get to go to the Civic Center shows a lot, or no?
No, what I did was I worked for Coca-Cola in the 80s. I was a driver, the delivery guy off a side loader truck.
Okay.
And my boss used to get through Coca-Cola. He used to get complimentary tickets from the Civic Center because they were an account of ours. So he says, "Hey, I got 20 free tickets. Who wants to go?" I said, "You can count me in every freaking week. Every time you get those tickets, you count me in." And he said, "You got it." And there we were. And I saw a lot of crazy shit down there. It was NWA. Awesome. They were called the NWA at the time. Crockett's NWA and the WWF. So a lot of good stuff there.
Was it always the Civic Center, or did you ever go over to the Capitol Center?
It was always the Civic Center. I went to the Capitol Center for concerts. I saw, good Lord, Led Zeppelin, the Cars, Fleetwood Mac. I saw Fleetwood Mac opening for Heart. That's how long ago it was. The Beach Boys.
I saw David Lee Roth at the Capitol Center by himself.
Really? By himself?
Yes.
That Skyscraper tour, huh? Just like Paradise, all those songs. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's it. They were when he hooked up with Steve Vai for that album. That was a smart move on his part.
You know who his bass player was?
No.
The guy from Buffalo.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Rick Derringer. I was going to
be no. Billy Sheehan. Billy Sheehan.
Oh,
is the guy from Buffalo. So I knew all about him growing up in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I used to follow his band Talus around town. And then David Lee Roth picked him up, and then I went to go see that and blah, blah, blah.
We also had the advantage from where I lived, because I lived in Baltimore County. I was close to Howard County, where they had Meriwether Post Pavilion. Does that ring any bells for you guys? Meriwether Post Pavilion, big outdoor. No. They call those shows, those venues, barns, because they're outdoor arenas. They got a roof over them. They got vendors there. You buy beers, drinks. They've got bathrooms, of course, available, food vendors and all that. But you were outside.
Yeah, we had one of those here.
They also had lawn seating available, where you could bring a lawn chair or put a beach towel down and sit on the lawn. But if it rained, you were out of luck.
Yep.
So
exactly
I never sat out on the lawn. Yeah. But man, there I saw the Beach Boys, Air Supply, Jan and Dean, the Four Tops and Temptations together.
I saw that concert.
James Taylor. Who else did I see out there? Linda Ronstadt put on a hell of a show, I will say. Man, we're getting away from wrestling now.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
That's kind of
we can talk about that.
We'll our way back. We always kind of do.
We talk about that on a weekly basis anyway. Screw it.
Right? Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, we'll get to this. There's some like the interesting current stuff that's happened for the day, but we'll get it. We'll kind of get there. Seems like George is kind of taking us through chronologically, so I like it.
I'm gonna get stuck on the music. So you went to a lot of concerts then?
Oh yeah. Queen. Dude, I've been to so many I can't even remember them all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking to a guy who got married at a music festival, so music will always be. Yeah, music's music's probably is my number one, and pro wrestling's pretty close. But yeah, no, actually my wife and I, when we first got together, it was because like we met online on a dating app, and like both of us kind of put our concert schedules up of what we were going to be doing for. And if we each had 10, like say we had 10 concerts up, we were going to like 8 or 7 of the same things. And it's like, well, we should probably hang out. And that's our thing. We based our honeymoon around seeing Tame Impala at the LA Forum because we got floor tickets for that. So yeah, that's, I can talk about music pretty much as long as you want to. Yeah.
I used to see those guys on, what is that guy's name? Jules Holland. Does that name ring any bells to you guys?
Yes.
Jules Holland, Jools Holland has a variety show where it's all musical acts over in Great Britain. And it was simulcast not simulcast, but it was syndicated. That's the word I'm looking for. It was syndicated to MTV at the time when they actually played music on MTV. Hour-long show. And I used to see Tame Impala on there all the time. All the time. Yeah. It was fantastic. He still does. They are good. They are very, very good. He doesn't do I don't think he does the hour-long show anymore, but he does a New Year's Eve special every year over in Great Britain. And you can see clips of it on YouTube. Just great stuff, man. Great stuff. He brings back.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
He brings back artists has current artists on the show. He also brings back he had the lead singer of Fine Young Cannibals. Remember that band?
Yeah.
Roland Gift is his name. Ooh. And Roland Gift must be like 65 years old. Must be my age. And he still sounds exactly the frickin' same. And he did a cartwheel.
Nice.
He was singing Suspicious Minds, You Drive Me Crazy, all the hits he was singing.
Nice.
Good Thing. And then like later in the show, he's got Tom Jones on singing It's Unusual, Not Unusual. And then he's got, I'm trying to think of, Cyndi Lauper on there singing Girls Just Want to Have Fun, a ska version with horns and trumpets and shit.
Oh, wow.
It's just, it's glorious. You can look it all up on YouTube. Just Jules Holland.
I see a lot of the clips, like,
New
on my
Year's Eve.
Instagram reels. I see yeah, cause he's like almost like similar like to what Graham Norton does for movies and stuff. Yeah, actually, anything around live music or performances, I'm usually easily hooked into. I'm a pretty large fan. I have a Radiohead tattoo on my forearm.
Fan of Don Kirshner's rock concert?
Loved it. I was just going to I would have put a period at the end of the Jules Holland thing I was talking about. He was the keyboard player for Squeeze. That's where he became famous. And he got fed up with touring and all that. He said, I'm going to bow out. I'm not going to do it anymore. I quit. And they hired Paul Carrick, whose claim to fame at the time was he was a lead singer for a group called Ace, a one-hit wonder that had the song, How Long Has This Been Going On? He was a keyboard player. He was a keyboard player, songwriter, and lead singer on that song. And Ace split up. They broke up, and he was just a session man. And Squeeze hired him, and he sang lead and played keyboards on the song Tempted for Squeeze. And it was the biggest hit they've ever had worldwide.
Nice.
And then he became the lead singer for Mike and the Mechanics, if you remember that group.
Yes. Paul Carrick and Nick Lowe opened up for Tom Petty when I saw him.
Dude, they were fantastic, weren't they?
Yes. Nice.
Now, can we go into Don Kirshner's rock concert?
Welcome to AltJake and Jordan Cather's Music Fest, people.
Hey, dude, I knew your background and I know Jake's background, so I figured I just throw a subject up and you guys can just roll with it.
Background.
The music is what I want to get into mostly.
The feds? What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, my first interaction with you, Johnny, was on PWT with Phil, and I was sitting in the green room, and you made like 3 music references. I'm like, I can't wait to get in and talk with. Like, I was already like, we'll be friends. We're fine.
There you go. We do a music show.
Yeah,
do a music podcast now.
Yeah, I forget you referenced some '90s band that not as many people knew. But I'm like, I've seen them live 3 times. Yes, we're good. I forget who it was, but I was sold.
I see Don Wayne's listening right now. I'm seeing if his name is.
So Don Kirshner's rock concert opened up in '73, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Yes, right? Don Kirshner. He was the guy behind the Monkees.
Oh, okay.
Was he really?
Yes, he was the guy who ran the label that the Monkees were on, I believe.
I did not know that.
Which then he means he probably would have, put it all together with the way it was and set that whole thing up and probably made a good amount of money off that, I would think.
I'm sure he did. He also, he had Kirshner Records, and then he had, what else did he have? He had his own production company to do the Don Kirshner rock concerts. So yeah, love those. But I like the Midnight Special because it was more of you knew they were all there in the same building. It wasn't clips from live shows.
Oh yeah.
It was a live show that they put on, and they had like 3 stages. You had a stage left, middle, and right. And the curtains would go down when the guy on stage number 3 was playing. The curtains would go down on 1 and 2 while they would set up the next bands, the next acts.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Everybody was on Midnight Special, and Don Kirshner, everybody.
Yeah, I didn't really get into the Midnight Special because I didn't know, we didn't get it on our TV. I don't think we got the Kirshner's rock concert like 11:30 at night.
Yeah. The Midnight Special was on Friday nights. It came on Friday night at 1:00. It wasn't midnight. They lied. It wasn't a true Midnight Special. It was named after the song. Who sang that song?
Midnight
I think Johnny
Special.
Rivers. What's that?
Yeah. I was just singing.
He was just singing.
Yes. And the Midnight Special, shine your ever loving light on me.
Yes.
That was that's how
where I was going.
Wolfman Jack was the host. He was the biggest DJ in the country.
Right.
Even down in Mexico, they were broadcasting Wolfman Jack down in Mexico. That's how big he was.
Okay. Can you do a Wolfman Jack impression?
That's right.
I was just thinking about it.
This portion of the show's for lovers only. Put one hand on your heart and the other hand wherever you see fit.
Well done. Well done.
He was a 12-pack a day smoker.
Yeah.
What was his name? Bob Jones or something? He had such the most generic name. Bob Jones or Bob Thomas or something like that. And he had the wild hair. And he said, man, you look like a werewolf.
Then he was the most popular radio DJ ever. I want to think.
Yes, he was, as a matter of fact. Right above Casey Kasem, I think.
That's where I was going to say. That was the only comparison I was thinking was Casey.
Yeah, that was it. Casey Kasem.
But that's also completely different worlds too, of like what, Casey was the clean cut top 40 guy.
Have you heard
But he also voiced Scooby-Doo, so.
Yes, he is Shaggy, yes. He did that.
Shaggy, right.
He just kept doing that and doing that and doing that. And, have you ever heard him do the Meltdown? That famous tape?
Yes, that's what I was just going to ask you. I had it ready to go where he goes, how the fuck am I supposed to come out of a fucking dedication song to a fucking dog after you just got done fucking this? Like,
I can't remember how it went, but I'll paraphrase it. Now we have a little dedication. Yonda Lewis from Pennsauken, Ohio, lost her little dog Snuggles. He passed away. What? God damn. Why am I coming to have an upbeat song with a goddamn death dedication? Because the girl wanted him to play Shannon by Henry Gross at the time, which was about a guy whose dog drowned and floated out to sea. And the Shannon dog, who names their dog Shannon?
Nobody.
Seriously, that's like naming your dog Arthur. You know what I mean? Or Connie. Hey, Connie, come here. Sheila, come here. No, the dog's name was Shannon. Carl Wilson from the Beach Boys. His dog was named Shannon. And Henry Gross and him were good friends. And so when Shannon passed away in real life, didn't drown, just died of old age. Henry Gross wrote the song Shannon for Carl Wilson. And that's the story behind that song. Henry Gross, by the way, was the original guitar player and high voice falsetto singer for Sha Na Na. That's how long he's been around.
Good Lord.
You
guys go further back. I was with you guys for most of it. You started to go too far back for me. I can keep up to a point, but
Sha Na Na I saw at a concert in Buffalo in the Round. That's some old time stuff there. I had their own TV show too, by the way.
Yes, they did. And that TV show was fantastic. You saw a lot of old Axl in there. Sometimes you had some new Axl in there, but you had the Ronettes, Four Tops, all those guys. They were all in there. It was only a half hour long, but they crammed a lot of music in that.
Yeah, they jammed it.
And they had the Freddie Mercury of doo-wop singing, Johnny Contardo, as their lead singer on all the slow ballads. You remember the guy, the little Italian guy with the high voice? Yeah. That was Johnny Contardo. All the girls loved Johnny.
And Bowser. Don't forget Bowser.
Bowser. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Peace for Greece. That's what he used to say. That was a sign off. Peace for Greece. Or Greece for peace, I mean. Greece for peace. Yes. And he went on to host the Hollywood Squares for a hot minute. Remember that?
I remember that.
Very hot minute.
I remember him doing it. Not the reboot versions they tried to pull, but those old versions. That's what I used to love. I was trying to watch I enjoyed as a kid watching reruns of old stuff more than I loved anything newer. It always made me laugh. I always thought it was better.
You could see the Peter Marshall hosted Paul Lynde starring episodes of the Hollywood Squares. It's all over YouTube. And then, I saw one episode, Hollywood Squares, 27 minutes long. I said, okay, I'll watch this. Cause they had I think they had George, I think they had one there. Gilbert Gottfried or some famous comic of the time. And Bowser was the host of the Hollywood Squares. And I said, yeah, I'm checking out on this. It's Peter Marshall or nothing.
Yeah, Pete was the man.
Those are the classics in those days, man.
Like Peter Marshall, Gene Rayburn, what was the dude the guy with Bert Convey?
I got nothing on that. I got nothing.
Tattletales. He was the host of Tattletales. He was the host of Password at one point in time.
Yes.
You can look up Password, Bert Convey, Rip Taylor, George, on YouTube. I'm not going to tell you what happens. You just look that clip up, and it's a good 10-minute clip, and you'll laugh your ass off.
I will do it.
You remember Rip Taylor, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Hello, Frisco.
Hello, I'm gay, but I'm not acting gay. I'm just pretending.
He'd come out. He had a little handlebar mustache. He'd come out with a big bag of confetti and glitter, just throw it all over the crowd. And the little old ladies loved it.
Yeah, it was a big hit. It's amazing.
So I tried to let Don in sneakily, but he's raised his hand now. He has to speak. I was going to let Don just do a run-in and just
You can't come into Johnny's time. Don had his own time.
We can deal with Don. I'll deal with Don anytime. Go ahead, Don. What do you got, pal?
Oh, there you go.
I really just got a question. Like, I'm going to bow out. I just want to hear this. I've enjoyed the show so far. Thanks for having Johnny on, my brother from another mother. But I do got a serious wrestling question. With the... Hold on now. Calm down with the tic-tac-toes of the goddamn
I'm ready for wrestling talk. I got to clip these things later. I'm like, how about we clip these things where I can't any wrestling talk?
We can't talk about any old fucking game shows anymore because Don's here.
I just want to know this, right?
Yes.
Ron Killings and Carlito's contracts are going to expire, and Johnny Ace, a.k.a. Fucktard, has decided to rat on Vince McMahon. Those are two very prevalent things right now happening. The fake outrage over Ron Killings and Carlito and the IWC is fascinating to me right now. I have never seen a guy like Ron Killings, a.k.a. R-Truth, have this kind of run. How fake is the outrage, do you guys think, or how legitimate is it?
No,
my question.
There's almost not everybody, because some of them were smart enough to delete their previous tweets before they made a new one, but a lot of them you can find the people that were making fun of or complaining about R-Truth getting the match against John Cena at Saturday night's main event, saying he's old, he's washed, whatever, and they're the same people complaining today about it. And they're saying that he was fired and that he was released and all that. It's like not that his contract expired. Like he can get a Legends deal. It'll probably happen. He was getting paid like a full-time worker would get paid. I mean, he might be traveling full-time, but he's not wrestling every week or in super important storylines. But yeah, I'm not surprised by either of them. I'm kind of sad about Carlito because I do enjoy his little bits on TV and his faces and getting murked by Braun Breaker and stuff. But I mean, how much were they paying him to do that? And I saw he just won a title in Puerto Rico, I think. So I think he'll be just fine.
They say main roster pay starting out is $250,000 starting on the main roster. $250,000. Can you believe that shit? So Carlito was making that and probably he probably wanted a little more, and they said, we're not going to pay you any more than that. We're a little ashamed we paid you $250,000 because all you do is sit in the background, you take the occasional spear. That was it, and you eat apples.
Although that one spear he did took with Braun ran down the ramp was pretty much the best spear I've ever seen. So that was great, but I'm not sure if it's worth what 5. Yeah, he had a 2-year deal, I think, maybe 3, but I think it was a 2-year deal. I don't know if it was worth I don't think that spear was worth $500,000, but hey, it makes sense. And again, these guys can go to Legends deals where they can get in the video game, still get merch stuff. I'm sure Truth can be like an ambassador or whatever and work occasionally if he needs to. I don't see it being that huge of an issue, but the outrage is the saddest part of it, or not the saddest, just the funniest, because these people, they don't really care. They're just using this as a point to bitch. Yeah. That's what they want to do.
They can't. Johnny, are you done talking about game shows?
I'm just going with the flow, pal. Yeah, just following.
I just want to know if we had any more on that, because I was going to get to wrestling eventually, but I wanted to kind of,
well, give me a little mix, George. We
slide into it. Well,
it's supposed to be a tangent, not a complete turn.
You remember the time Ric Flair played musical chairs on Raw?
With Stacy? Was it with Stacy?
It was a whole bunch of divas and
right, yeah,
a few other people were in there. Musical chairs. That's how we're tying the game shows into wrestling, folks.
Yeah, it's all coming around.
Trying to keep you awake.
Or the Bob Barker and Chris Jericho.
I hear. Although I think I hear the Blue Minute snoring.
my own thing with game shows, I went to one taping of The Price is Right in like 2005. That was fun.
Oh wow!
What about John Laurinaitis being a complete fucking rat bastard?
Is there anything less surprising than that guy just being a complete piece of shit? Like just whatever what way can I snake here? What can I do to just be the biggest rat possible? He's that guy who will literally talk shit behind everybody's back.
He had a shot at either, it could be possible jail time and all the money he's ever saved from professional wrestling, stock portfolio, the whole 9 yards being turned over to Janelle Grant. So he probably saw that coming. If he's got any decent legal counsel. And they said, well, you better see if you can make a deal, pal. And that's what happened. He made a deal.
Yeah.
What is he? He's probably my age. And, where are you going to go? In professional wrestling. Nobody will touch him. Tony Khan won't even hire him. No, he's done. Unless he's going to that, soft ground wrestling they have over in Africa. Oof. He could be the commissioner of that.
In there perfectly. Yeah.
It's hot over here.
I mean, he would make a great heel to get his ass kicked by them, but yeah, no, like he wasn't really anybody. He wasn't somebody anybody wanted to hire before this legal case happened. Like he was not I'm trying to think of anybody I've heard talk well about him. Like,
he was Vince's running buddy.
Oh, Mrs. Baba liked him.
Mrs. Baba did like him a little too much.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
The wrestlers, the Japanese wrestlers, when he was a wrestler in All Japan and New Japan Pro Wrestling back in the day, and he actually tag team. Who did he tag team with, George? He tag team with Dr. Death or Stan Hansen. He tag team. I know he wrestled those guys, but he tag team with some big names over there. When he was a good looking,
he was huge.
He was a tall guy, a long blonde mullet, and
it was just because they had that killer mullet.
Yes, and all the wives of the Japanese wrestlers over there wouldn't leave him alone because he was such a good-looking kid back in the day. And he got called a couple times, and he had to get out of there. So that's when you saw him in Crockett as with Shane Douglas, tagging with him as the Dynamic Dudes.
Dynamic Dudes, yeah. Oof, and this is the worst skateboarding you've ever seen in your life.
And the day glow colors. Oof. Remember when everybody wore the day glow colors?
Oh,
so bright they were like glow in the dark. You only see them on traffic workers now on the side of the road wearing those bright colors, but it was horrible. I gotta admit, I had a couple t-shirts like it.
Were those more popular than Zubas?
You would take the shirt.
Worldwide, yes. In wrestling, no. In wrestling, the Zubaz were more popular, but worldwide, the colors were big.
You would take the day glow shirt and pair it up with an appropriate pair of Zubaz pants. Exactly. Zubaz pants were comfortable. I have to tell you that. I had 2 pair. Good Lord Almighty, they were nice.
I mean, that's your fancy going out to. I mean, you're going out to Olive Garden in those.
I'm going to Olive Garden in the wrestling show. I'm going to see some groaners tonight, Dad.
It's a big night.
That's it.
Zubaz. I think I had one pair of, I forget what sports team my mom got me a pair of as a kid that I had him in with the logo on the side.
I think all you need.
I had the complete set of Buffalo Bills.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you're in that age range. I mean, if I was 5-7 years older at the time, I absolutely would have. Just had been full. I wanted to. I just was a kid.
Would you wear the fanny pack with your Zubaz pants like all the wrestlers did?
Nope.
No.
Back in my school, if you did that, you were called a
yeah.
Yeah.
You were called a fancy boy.
Yes. Yeah, no, my dad and his, cause my dad was a soccer coach and like the soccer coaches all did those. Yeah, no, as a kid, I'm like, that's a bad look. Yeah, I even know that's a bad look. I get it for like wrestlers that were traveling. You gotta have as much as you can in there, but as a general thing, I mean, it's basically just a merce. Like, let's be real.
A buddy of mine who used to be a wrestler, he's wrestled some of the greats, and that's not hyperbole either. He did wrestle some of the greats. He's an indie wrestler. He's a referee on the indies now. Nice. Hollywood Playboy Bobby Starr, if you remember him from the early days of WCW when Ted Turner owned it. They brought him as a jobber. He was even on during the Monday Night Wars. He'd be beaten up by Randy Savage. But I digress. Bobby Starr still has the fanny pack. He still wears it around underneath his big beer gut, wearing a freaking fanny pack in 2025.
It takes guts.
Just great stuff. And he's got the kangaroo high tops. He still has kangaroo high tops. Remember those?
Question is, does he wear the coach's shorts too?
The what?
Remember the coach's shorts they used to sell us?
Oh, yes. He doesn't wear those. He doesn't have the legs for it. He wears the Zubaz.
He doesn't have the legs for it. Yeah, you gotta be pretty, you gotta be confident in your thighs to rock those, man. Yeah.
Yes, Bob wasn't a fat man when he was a wrestler, but he was built like a bowling pin with a long red mullet on top and snaggle teeth in a singlet. He was fantastic.
Playboy, not sure if I've heard that description before.
Built like you can Google his matches on YouTube. He's on YouTube. He's freaking fantastic. He's great at being beaten up. He made a cottage industry of getting thrown around a ring in WCW.
Especially back then, that was such a big part of it because that's what the squad, you've got to make the guys look good. And to this day, I always will talk about how if somebody isn't selling, I'm not going to buy. Like, that's why I don't like Will Ospreay matches because he just doesn't sell. Like, you've got to be able to make it look like you're getting your ass kicked. Like, even if you're going to make your comeback, great, but what are you coming back from if you're just popping up every 3 seconds?
He doesn't even sell for his barber. Have you seen that haircut? Good Lord.
That's a gutsy look to go out with, isn't it?
No, he went home and posted on Twitter. He posted on Twitter like Friday night. He said, yeah, about the hair. I think, my wife's getting on me. You got to cut that. So I'm getting a haircut.
It's the wife. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The wife made him get a haircut. Probably everybody ragging on him. He could be a big fan of the Squared Circle Maniacs pro wrestling podcast because we've ragged on that man's hair every week.
I mean, it's deserved. Well, and he still lives in England, and I lived in London for like 6.5 months in college, and I've got a good friend who lives over there, and I get into that culture as much as I can. They're very big on banter. Like, they're very big on picking on people. There's no way if he goes out with his bruvs, they're not making fun of that. Like, it's just, you can't not look at it.
That's a kid with unbelievable superhuman ability. He really does have it. And
absolutely.
And he I don't know if he's just resisting guidance or there's no one there to guide him. If he was in the WWE machine, they would guide him into being a superstar. He would be a household name as Will Ospreay. Oh, he's a household name now. What do you mean? He's a household name now.
No, he's a basement name now. There's a difference.
He's a basement name now. But God bless him. He's married a girl who had a special needs son, I believe. He's taking care of him, taking care of her. He doesn't want to leave them.
More power to him for that.
Good for him. Good awesome. Family man and a good looking kid. Got to give it to him. No homo. Good looking kid though.
Absolutely. Amazing athletic talent.
Yes. He could go anywhere and excel, but he's got to get that haircut, pal. Get that haircut.
Yeah. And
think he'd look okay in a mullet?
I think anybody looks okay in a mullet.
He should go full Dominic Mysterio. That's what he should do.
Yes.
Or the 80s hockey mullet perm.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I'm glad you said the perm part because when you said 80s, that was the first thing I thought.
With his blonde hair, he would look like he looked like a British beautiful Bobby Eaton.
Yeah, that's a good look.
Bobby had he had a mullet. He was rocking. Yeah. They all did back then. Sweet Stan.
I was just gonna say, yeah. Even if they didn't like overall for a long period, you can find a photo of everybody had one. Everybody had to try it at one point, especially if you had long hair and you're gonna cut it. At least give it a look.
You guys do. You could do an hour space on wrestling fashion through the years. Seriously. Now they're wearing Super Mario boots to the ring and bird wings and all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
Hockey skates.
Yeah.
They weren't really hockey skates, but they looked like them.
Mm-hmm.
Or different video game characters, or when they came out dressed in the basket, or the Ghostbusters one. That was a fun one. Jesus Christ.
You know Mysterio got a letter from DC Comics because he came out dressed as the Flash for some big match on a pay-per-view. Yeah, they popped him. They popped him for like a takedown.
Like a cease and desist?
A cease and yes, that's it. That's the phrase I'm looking for. Thank you, AltJake.
That's what I'm here for.
The C&D. Yes, he got hit with that, saying, you can't do that anymore. You're going to have to pay us. So that he curtailed his comic book outfits after that. That's a shame. It really is.
It is.
He told he told Vince he wanted to do Spider-Man. And we just got a letter, pal. We got a letter from DC Comics, pal. You're not doing any more comic book characters, pal.
Yeah, I know he did the Joker one once too, and that was and then he's kind of switched off. I mean, that's that's so silly in my mind. It's not like it's gonna take money away from DC. It could just get people. I mean, if there's a kid, what is that costume? Oh, it's this comic book, and it's there's plenty of fans of his that are but 10 and younger that have no idea what the Flash is or don't know about it and look into it. That can only do better for them, especially DC. Like, come on, guys.
I could see now in 2025, 2024 even, that it would be a hot button because Warner Brothers, who owns DC Comics, owns they're broadcasting AEW. So that would be what a kettle of fish that would be. Yeah.
Although Triple H was shown on TNT during that basketball game on, I don't know if it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I thought they just showed him like quickly. I didn't realize like they had
gave
the
him
whole
full intro.
Yeah, the whole entrance and his name and then I didn't realize they went all with.
Yeah, see the basketball production team doesn't give a shit that they own AEW. They don't even know that.
They don't even know. Oh, thank you.
They're just going to put up. Look, it's Triple H. We all know who that is.
Right.
And they put him on the screen. The crowd goes freaking bonkers.
And even if they're not into wrestling, they know right now WWE is hot. Like, if you're in the entertainment industry, you understand that. We're going to show this. Oh, hey, look, the arena's playing his entrance music because he's worked with the guys on both teams. That's easy to shoot. Boom.
And now
it's going to go viral.
Throw in the first pitch. Matthew Jacob Friedman, and the whole crowd goes,
Feinstein.
Who?
Yeah.
The Nemeth brothers threw out the first pitch for somebody recently, like a couple days ago.
Right here in Phoenix, Arizona, my friend, a mile and a half away from where I live. Had I known they were doing that, I probably would have gone just for fun because it's a baseball stadium. You can usually get decently cheap tickets for it, but I live like 5 light rail stops from there.
I heard the intro. I heard the intro for it, and then I heard this. I heard one person go,
wow, it's where the Diamondbacks, it's the Diamondback Stadium. Because I just found out like 5 days ago, TNA's playing, they're doing 2 shows at the Arizona State Hockey Arena. The arena that the Coyotes played in for the season before they left and went to Utah that holds, I think it's like 5,000 people, and it seems like the tickets have sold well from what I saw online, but.
Oh yeah. That's not
It's just crazy because they're playing, like, TNA's Friday, Saturday there, and then Monday is Raw at the Suns Arena. I'm like, I don't have the money for all these things.
You know, they say a rising tide lifts all boats. You ever hear that old cliche?
Yes, absolutely.
So when the WWE's doing well, all peripheral wrestling does well because wrestling's hot again. Through WWE. And people say, hey, WWE's coming to town. Oh, and this other federation's got $10 tickets. We can go see them on the other side of town 2 days later. That sounds good to me. and you check out different things. It's a different taste. It's like a buffet now. It's like the Golden Corral of professional wrestling right now. There's a federation everywhere you look. There's a company everywhere you look because it's hot again, like you said.
I just saw literally yesterday, there's an Arizona Federation Wrestling, Arizona, whatever the local indie that has a show June 28th or 29th, and the big star on it is, well, now Elena Black, but formerly Cora Jade. She's front and center on the poster with the big picture. She's the big selling point. So that's good for her to get right back into it too. That's what they should be doing.
You know what organization draws big when they come to Arkansas here?
What?
Micro brawlers. I'm dead serious.
I'm not surprised.
They got that in Florida. Yeah.
They're like just comedy clubs. I'm in Arkansas. They come up here and they play the Hot Springs Civic Center. And it's just like, they sell it out. It's amazing.
Dude, there's a comedy club near me, and it's in a strip mall. And it's a little hole in the wall place, like a pool hall. And they throw a ring up in the back, and they have the micro brawlers come out.
Yeah.
Like once a month. And at one time they had the guys from, what was that, A&E show? Was it an A&E show? That was about midget wrestling?
I think it was Micro Brawlers, wasn't it?
Was it Micro Brawlers, George?
I'm not sure. Yeah. I know the show you're talking about, the one that beat AEW in the ratings.
Yes.
It's Micro Brawlers.
Okay. Well, it was those guys there, because it said as seen on A&E TV or whatever the network was. And, because I take my dogs to get groomed at the groomer right alongside the place. That's how small the venue is. But I just laughed my ass off when I saw the big billboard outside. It was funny, but I said, well, wrestling's hot now. You're seeing this kind of stuff advertised.
Was it really a big billboard? Or was it a really small billboard?
Do they have one of those people like flipping it and spinning it, but they're...
Oh, no. This dude actually who owns a place. He owns a bunch of different businesses nearby. He actually bought a big billboard. And recently they had Skippy from Family Ties. Remember Skippy from Family Ties?
I do.
Alex Eaton's friend?
Yes.
Well, that guy, Mark Price, is a stand-up comic. He's had to go back to being a stand-up comic. And he's got to be 60. And he's running around now doing the comedy club circuit. And they bought a big billboard for that also. It was one of those changing billboards where it's like strips of a picture. The picture's made out of strips. And the Mark Price billboard was there at the comedy club, and it would flip over a minute later, and you see Micro Brawlers. That would flip back to Mark Price Skippy. That's how I remember it. This is
Skippy, not to be confused with Boner from, what was it, Growing Pains?
Or Screech.
Or Screech. No, I always thought that was, how did that get on network television? His nickname is Boner. Wait, what?
Let me ask you a question. Was Boner from Growing Pains the son of the guy who played Chekhov from Star Trek, the original Star Trek?
That I don't know, but
I think he was. Was it Andrew Koenig? Walter Koenig is the guy who played Chekhov from Star Trek.
And I'm on Wikipedia right now. The actor is Andrew Koenig. You are absolutely correct.
There you go.
Father, Walter Koenig. Yeah, right there. Look at that.
Yes.
That's some good trivia. That's some good bar trivia. That's good. I like that.
Let me tell you something. It's a circuitous route to where I found that bit of information out. There was an independent movie made. It was like a 15-minute movie. A fan film is what they call that. It was called Batman Dead End. And there was a special effects guy who wanted to be a director in Hollywood named Sandy Collora, Collora. He pulled his money together. He got donations from other companies and other people in the business. And they did this movie called Batman Dead End, where the Joker escaped from Arkham Asylum. And you see Batman suiting up. The bat signal's in the sky. He's played by a bodybuilder called Clark Bartram was his name. And Mr. Universe type of guy, that sort of thing. There's a contest. But the guy was great as Batman. And it wasn't a leather suit. It was a cloth suit he wore. That's how ripped he was. And he had to find the Joker. And the Joker's running through the streets of Gotham in the back alleys wearing a straitjacket. And he was played by Andrew Koenig. Boner from Growing Pains. And then
he definitely went down the rabbit hole there.
At the end of the movie, setting up the last 5 minutes of the movie, where there's a fight scene, an alien from the movie Aliens snakes its tail down the front of a building, grabs the Joker by the throat, and pulls him up to the rooftop. My hand to God. And this is not animated, by the way. They did this on a shoestring budget, and it looked like it was a pro-Hollywood production. And at that point in time, a predator from the Predator movies jumps down and squares off.
All this takes place in 15 minutes?
In 15 minutes. My hand to God, George.
Holy
in 15 minutes, this all happens. It's available free on YouTube, and I downloaded a copy of it. And
sounds like the people had a lot of the TK sniff specials when they were writing this one.
Buddy, it's fantastic. You would think from the way I'm telling you, I'm a mental patient on LSD, and I had this fever dream. Smoke a peyote out in the desert in Phoenix, Arizona. But no, this is the actual movie on YouTube. And the Predator faces off against Batman. He throws a batarang and busts a cannon off his shoulder. So now the Predator's got to fight with a spear and a blade or whatever. And he takes on Batman. Batman's got these two razor sharp batarangs. He pulls that from inside of his cape or his utility belt. And he faces off in a kung fu fight with the Predator. And then the Predator faces off against the alien. And all these other Predators come down the alleyway.
Oh, good Lord.
To trap Batman in the alley because he killed their buddy.
I don't have to see the movie.
Right.
It's worth watching. It's very atmospheric. It's
you spoiled it.
It's not a comic book type. It's not like the TV show Batman. Although he's wearing a sort of suit like that, a cloth suit. He's not the TV show Batman. And the cape is huge. I don't know how he fights in that cape. The cape is monolithic. It's just unbelievable. Okay.
The movie review today brought to you by Siskel and Ebert.
What a segue that was.
That's how we roll. That's why people ask when people ask, what do we talk about? I'm like, oh, whatever. We have an outline. We'll go down places. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, we've talked for an hour. That's what we do. That's fun.
Yeah. I'm going to keep you for another 15, 20 minutes. Johnny, is that okay?
I could do another half hour.
Okay. We'll go.
Whatever you guys want to do. I'll roll with the flow, pal. I'm retired.
We'll go to 8:45 my time.
Which you're what, Central? Yeah.
That'll work. That'll give me another half hour. That'll go extra time that we wanted to go, and I don't have to work tomorrow because I took off. So we're good.
Hell yeah.
So Johnny, you're retired now, right?
Yes, I am. I occasionally, believe it or not, DoorDash for some weed money and some beer money. I do DoorDash. I do Walmart Spark, delivering groceries to people's homes. It's all based on an app. I do all that around town here. And it gets me out of the house. I was going crazy. I got 5 dogs. The wife works. She's 12 years younger than me. So she's out working and she hates it. Oh, thanks, pal. And I'm sitting home with the dogs. I was going nuts. That's how I, found out about things like, Hang on Sloopy and Batman Dead End and who Andrew Koenig is and all
now
the
now I understand.
Trivial bullshit we talked about. Well, there you go.
I understand.
And no, I actually knew all about that before. I would go down YouTube rabbit holes while I'm home drinking coffee and doing what I got to do around the house.
It's supposed to be working.
No, I was retired, so I didn't have those jobs yet. I said, I got to get out of here and do something. I want to be able to work on my own hours, my own terms or whatever, whatever I want to work. So, I found out about DoorDash, Walmart Spark, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I had to make some extra money last year we had a situation where we had one of our pets got cancer, so we were trying to put some money into that. So yeah, I was doing the same kind of thing. Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah, we had a rough end of the year, so that's why we're pushing into 2025. But yeah, I did the same thing where I called it Uber dashing because I would do either Uber Eats or DoorDash, whichever one was going to bleep first. I'm like, let's go.
Right. Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, the whole thing though, it's crazy. Like that somehow got me into doing this because it was Phil who wanted to. Because we would DM and talk and stuff, and he found out about it and brought me onto his show to do a super chat goal to donate to my GoFundMe for my cat. And it was supposed to be like 10, 15 minutes. I ended up staying on for the rest of the show and then making sporadic appearances and figuring like, well, shoot, I think I can do this. Like I didn't think I had this in me, but it's a lot of fun. And so if we had to lose her, I feel like this was her last gift to me. So yeah, cause
Right.
I had that cat for 17 and a half years and we found her at like 4 days old. So I like bottle fed her.
Oh,
and I don't have kids. So yeah, it was
you're
a rough
the dad,
situation.
man.
You're
the cat dad.
And I'd never even like lived with a cat before. I'd only had dogs. It was just, I don't know what to do, but it's like, well, this is yours. You have it. And so she would chase the ball and come when we called. Yeah, she was a cat, but really acted like a dog. So, but yeah, it was the same kind of situation where I was able to do door dashing, and I still do it from time to time, but it was great. Like during football season, I could make a ton of money on Sundays.
Oh,
nobody wanted, especially here in Phoenix, because the first games, because we're either in Mountain Time or Pacific Time, depending on the time of the year. Like right now, we're usually in Pacific Time. So when the first game starts at either 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., nobody wants to go out that early. Usually, most people are hungover or tired on a Sunday, and so I would be able to make a good amount of money for those early games and usually be able to get home and watch the afternoon game.
It's not bad. Well, I got the advantage. I get Social Security too every month.
Nice.
So I just got paid by my boss, Donald Trump. I just got paid last Wednesday from my boss. Well, direct deposit. Yeah, went right in. Oh, yeah, perfect. And if I say to my wife, I want to get a new, let's get another big screen TV. Hey, you want to? Yeah, sure. I think I'll DoorDash 3 days. Go out and buy what I want. And you can write it all off on your taxes. Write your internet bill off on your taxes. You can write your cell phone off on your taxes. 65 cents a mile you can declare off your taxes. So, yeah.
How old you gotta be for that?
I don't wind up. What's that?
How old you gotta be for this?
Any age you want. You gotta be able to, you gotta
am I going to be eligible? Let's say that.
You would be eligible if you have a clean driving record. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I meant all that's declared on your taxes?
You can declare all that on your taxes, and it's all a write-off. Yes.
Cool.
Just like you guys do Spaces and you put it on YouTube. You can declare all your expenses off on your taxes because you can make money off of YouTube. That's your business. You don't have to be making money.
That's the goal. That is the goal.
Yes. Well, you don't have to be making money to have a business. You could be losing money. Like they do up in Jacksonville, Florida. You could be losing money.
You beat me to it. I was just going to say, hey, I think I know someone who's doing that.
Yes. Not making any money whatsoever.
Yeah. Speaking of which, please subscribe to our channels, youtube.com/@AltJake takes on. And are you guys youtube.com/@SCManiacs, right?
Something like that, I think. I'm not sure.
Something like that, he said.
Just go on YouTube, type in a search bar, Square Circle Maniacs. And it's not a real serious show. We sit around casually like this, have a couple cocktails and talk about wrestling, what pisses us off and what we love about wrestling. And, we do review shows and things like that occasionally, like all the other wrestling channels do. So.
Yeah, cool. Do you know, I went down the wormhole yesterday and I wanted to get your opinion because I knew you were coming on. I went down to WCW, WWF Monday Night wormhole, big time.
Yes.
Like I got stuck in it, and I was remembering what I was watching and how I used to watch it, and I wanted to kind of get your feel for what you were doing at the time period, and Jake's too, because Jake's just popping into wrestling at this time, I think.
That's when I really got more into it as where I was understanding more, because
So from my end, I'm in my late 20s at that time, and I'm just watching WWF. I'm switching channels back and forth, forgetting that WCW came on live right afterwards anyway. When they ran back
the replay,
yeah. But I wanted to see what you were up to, Johnny. What did you like better? Why? And how was it going for you in that time period?
It's hard to say what you like better, George. It's do you like burgers or pizza better? And they're both delicious. And you're going, oh my God, what do I, oh my God. And you can't really, probably whoever they were pushing on top at the time. I have to say I like WWF a scooch better than WCW at the time. I really did. I liked them a little bit better than WCW, but then WCW they acquired the Macho Man, the Outsiders. They had Hogan. They had Flair. They had all those guys there. And then when they had the Luchadors come in for the first half hour or whatever of Nitro, it opened up, man, these guys really do all this bullshit. It's unbelievable. The guy's name is Super Porky, and he's Super Porky, all right, but he's doing backflips and shit with Juventud Guerrera. I just couldn't believe the guys I was seeing that was actually, I wouldn't say legends, but superstars in Mexico and the Latin America market. And,
Bischoff brought those guys in for that. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. And then he brought in the Japanese guys because he stole the NWO gimmick from Japan and said, well, I got to bring some of those guys in as payback. And, that was good too. They even brought the Great Muta back with his bad knees at that time.
Yeah, that first, before like the Luchadors realized that they were never going to be able to advance and were kind of stuck there, but for that like 6 months to a year period where the first hour of Nitro, when it was 3 hours, was all the Luchadors and the guys from Japan and stuff, like that was so wholly different than anything we had seen, at least for up to my time at that point. So that was really enjoyable for me of it. I don't know if you guys have watched it on YouTube, but the guy at the Wrestling Bios channel does, Reliving the War is his series where he'll do each episode. Talk about the Raw and the Nitro back and kind of go back and forth between the two episodes and show what happened and stuff. It's a great, nostalgia trip of stuff. You're like, oh yeah, that happened. That was awesome. And other times you're like, oh fuck, they did do that. That was terrible.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. When it actually changed was when Hall and Nash came over.
Yes.
That's when the attention that I had to WWF was changing over to WCW. That's when it all changed.
That's when I noticed, like, cause I remember, cause I was in high school at the time. I was a sophomore in high school when that happened. And, I could remember, cause that happened like, right at the end of May, and we went to school till like the first week of June. And I could remember seeing a few different kids would have like wrestling shirts or talking about it. And then the next, September when we started school, all of a sudden wrestling was popular and I wasn't uncool for liking it, which I had been the year prior, and I never talked about it to anybody really besides my two wrestling friends. So I remember that being like a change in this mainstream as high school is, but it was a big moment. I can remember that clearly.
I'm just having a brain fart right now. I'm trying to figure out.
You having a stroke? Are we okay?
I smell burning hair.
I was just going to say, don't smell toast.
No, I'm thinking back in the 80s, I didn't like the WWF in the 80s with the cartoon characters, Hogan, and everybody had an occupation. Everybody was a walking cartoon. When I saw the Great Muta, the Steiner brothers, all those guys over in WCW at the time, I thought it was fantastic. The Great Muta exposed me to Japanese wrestling because he actually did all the flips and the moves and the karate chops and all that stuff. It just wasn't punch, kick, throw salt in your eyes like the other Japanese wrestlers did back in the late 70s, mid 70s or whatever, in the early 80s. I loved that at the time when WWF became more reality based with the Bret Hart heel turn and the Hart Foundation with Pillman and all those guys. And then Austin came in. That's when I started to like WWF more. But when they brought the Luchadors into WCW, that became my thing. I liked seeing those guys because it was a little bit different from the 300-pound men throwing each other around the ring. These guys were flying through the air, like I said before. But that forced Vince to look at his roster and say, I think we need to hire some of those guys, which he did. And he came out with a show called Super Astros. You guys remember that show?
Doesn't ring a bell for me.
Well, when we're off the air, go ahead and Google that. WWF Super Astros.
We're Googling a lot after the show for you, Johnny.
It was on, I think it was on Telemundo.
Okay. That makes sense.
It was Spanish language, and I had to turn on the closed captions on the TV for the English subtitles. But they had on Juventud, well, not Juventud, but they had on guys of that ilk, luchadors that weren't signed to WCW. And they brought over one of those guys. He debuted with, what was he? Papi Chulo. He debuted with Lita. Lita was his manager when she first appeared in WWF. And the guy's name was Papi Chulo, which is Spanish for sugar daddy. And he would do, first guy I've ever seen do a moonsault in WWF. He did a moonsault off the top rope. He wrestled in like red sequin pants, I believe, or tights.
So yeah, there's only 28 episodes of Super Astros. It ran from 98 to 99. Yeah, it did not last long. Yeah, that's man. Now that is a deep cut. Wow. That's awesome.
I'm glad I could turn you into that, pal.
Yeah, no, that's no wonder I didn't ring a bell for it. It really wasn't around that long, but it really, I mean, I'm seeing the people that were on it. I'm looking at the list right now of people that were on the show. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was noteworthy because Vince gave it a shot.
Right. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's, what was that guy's name in, cause I'm seeing Papi Chulo. Oh, S.A. Rios. That's what they called him in WWF when he was with
S.A. Rios. Okay. Yeah.
No, it's the same guy. I'm looking at his picture I'm on IMDb. I'm looking at his picture right now. Yeah, because it tells you what their real name is and then what their gimmick name was. But he was Papi Chulo on Super Astros, but when they brought him to, it wasn't even Raw. I think it was Heat the first time they debuted with him and Lita when she did that before.
You know, you're right. You're exactly right. Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah, man, because Sunday Night Heat really was. I mean, it was pretty popular, especially when it was running on, because it ran on MTV initially. Yes, so it was like a different, so they were trying to because that was part of the whole be younger, be cool, be more. I mean, that was when also like Vince did that preamble before the shows where we're not going to have just good guys versus bad guys and using his big weird words that he always liked to use to make himself look smart.
Yes.
And he gave that speech. Yeah. And really like that is that moment. And I always feel like the big moment for me when I realized like WWF was putting in the effort was that Super Bowl commercial where they're like walking around the old Titan Towers and like people are beating each other up and going through windows and they're like changing from wrestler to wrestler as they're talking through it. That was a Super Bowl commercial. I mean, they're still stupidly expensive now, but that was when that was like everything where, and that's that point where I remember like, okay, I think that was Super Bowl either 97 or 98. And that's really that big push forward.
It was wild having that actually on national, worldwide TV. Yeah.
Right.
Not that no one knew about the WWF, but dude, that was back in the day when I would go into the office at the advertising company. Oh God, did you watch wrestling last night? This is a Tuesday morning. Yeah, Dottie, I just saw this guy called The Rock. Oh my God. And with the women, housewives were watching alongside their husbands. Because it was a Jerry Springer-esque type of thing. And he was the big thing in afternoon TV, Jerry Springer back in those days. So they patterned the show, the Crash TV. Is that what Russo used to call Crash TV?
Russo, yeah.
Yes.
Russo.
Russo is good for having his finger on the pulse of pop culture. And he brought a lot of those things to WWE. And Vince got a hold of all his cockamamie ideas and filtered it through his filter, his Mr. Coffee filter, and came out with what we got for the Attitude Era. But
and haven't recovered
Russo
since.
knew that. What was that?
I said we haven't recovered since.
We haven't recovered since. Russo knew Jerry Springer was a big thing, so he wanted to bring that to professional wrestling, and he was guided through that probably by Vince McMahon, a man who doesn't watch regular television.
or other wrestling television or movies either too. He didn't know who Scarface was when Scott Hall did the impression for him.
Exactly. That's a guy who's firmly in the wrestling bubble.
Yeah, and that's where I'm one of the people who rarely ever gives Russo much credit because he drives me insane. But he was right in the sense that you do have to give everybody a story, and you kind of do have to, especially at that time. He was right about the Crash TV in the sense you need to be moving from segment to segment. Don't let anything get stale. Now, his problem was trying to write the stories to not get stale because it was always the same 5 different types of things, but it did kind of make that big change over. And
don't forget also, Jake, he wasn't writing for the main event. That was Vince.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He was doing all the undercard shit, like all the other guys. So he was giving them all sorts of weird things to do,
like choppy your pee-pee,
choppy pee-pee.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But pal, they still talk about that to this day, just like we are right now. Choppy your pee-pee. What was the guy's name? Val was running around with his wife.
Oh, I forget their name. I mean, because it was all like Kai and Tai, but only
Kai and Tai, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Only Taka and Funaki ended up staying out of it. The rest of it, but they were like a big, decent sized group. Yeah, no, there was Yeah, and then back to the Reliving the War show I was talking about on YouTube. There's episodes where you see certain things and you're like, oh man, that they put that on television. But I feel like also
Mark Henry got blown by a trainee? What happened? What?
It did happen.
It did happen.
Yeah. And he kept seducing his sex therapists. Yeah. No, it's Raw back then was very much kind of like Lorne Michaels talks about Saturday Night Live. Like, we don't go on at 11:30 because we're ready. We go on because it's 11:30.
Well,
sometimes it's good.
Yeah, if you go back,
yes,
when Johnny and I were talking originally about the WWF in the early days, you go back and look at some of those promos from Piper and all those guys in Piper's Pit. Like, they're talking about Indian jokes and
oh my god,
black stuff. It's just
very
stuff
rough.
Nowadays. People will lose their freaking minds, but we just took it like it was just coming at us.
No,
you didn't even realize what was going on. Like the coconuts and the bananas, and they're making all these racial undertones with the Chinese. It was amazing. You look at it now and you're like, what the hell? And we didn't think anything of it.
Television, especially some of those times when Roddy was like a D. I forget who the guy was where he's yelling at him, where the guy's in the singlet and the guy ends up getting really mad. Roddy just decks him. Like that's, they were. They were a little more unhinged back in the day.
45 years ago, 40 years ago was a different time, different outlook on things, and different parts of the country still were 25 years, 30 years behind the times on prejudice. It was just horrible, especially down south.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and wrestling was always going to play into it where it could, because you gotta, especially with the weekly territories, you've got to keep going and keep bringing them to come back. So get your heat where you can. But yeah, those videos don't age so well.
No,
and Roddy's probably he's in my top 3 favorite of all time. But yeah, there's certain promos and clips and things that just, they don't age well. Even if you know that he didn't really mean it personally, I mean, he just knew it was going to get heat, but it ages poorly.
Roddy was in the best movie starring a pro wrestler.
They Live?
They Live, dude. They Live was fantastic.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Fantastic. He was great in that.
Oh, absolutely.
The best wrestling movie ever would be They Live.
The best movie with a wrestler in it as like the star.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Did he do like a sidewalk slam on Keith David when they were fighting in the street or in that back alley?
Keith David.
David. Remember that guy?
Yes.
He was in all the 80s movies, dude. He does a lot of voiceover work now because he's got that voice like this. He's great. Keith David was his buddy. They were adversaries at first.
One of the B movie kings.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about that movie in quite a while. It is a fantastic movie. Roddy really could do just about anything that you needed him to do. Roddy was awesome.
Yes.
Got a little crazy there at the end, but that happens. CT is a hell of a thing.
Hey, just look at BJ Penn. Good Lord.
Yeah.
The UFC guy. Have you heard about what happened to him?
I've seen headlines. I haven't looked too deep into it, but I know
got locked up 3 times in the last 6 days because he thinks everyone has replaced people in his family with actors.
That's what it was. I was thinking he was one of the people that thought everybody was a lizard, but now he thought they were the replacement.
That's me.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's me.
That's true. Everyone else is a reptilian shapeshifter.
Everybody's got the forked tongues and the eyes that do that's. I knew it was something like that, but yeah.
All I know is that motherfucker back there is not real. Remember that girl on the plane?
Oh yes, I've seen that video.
Yes, she was screaming. A guy back there was a lizard man. She had to change her story because she didn't want to go and spend the weekend in a loony bin.
Yeah, the airplane is not the place to have that conversation.
Johnny, I'll actually end this on a wrestling note.
Have we talked about wrestling at all?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to finish this right here, and we're going to end on wrestling. So right now, what's your favorite angle from either company? Okay, WWE, but you can say AEW if you wanted to, but I don't think it's going to be. And what is your least favorite angle going on in the wrestling thing right now? Best and worst, or worst and best, however you want to do it.
I'll do best in each company.
Okay.
AEW, I'm anticipating the Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné match, believe it or not.
No, I am too.
That's the biggest match they've got coming. The Moxley thing is completely turned me off to the main event men's scene.
Yeah.
Hurt Business. I don't understand why Bobby Lashley's not facing Moxley for the belt.
Right.
I don't understand that. Why? And they're complaining that he was going to be used on the mid card in WWE. He's in the mid card now of AEW, tag teaming with Shelton, Mr. Mid Card Benjamin. They haven't done anything to elevate Benjamin Shelton. They haven't done anything to elevate Benjamin Shelton. They haven't done that at all. He's still he's either a tag team guy or he's a mid card wrestler, and that's what he is in AEW. I don't understand it. But anyway, the women's championship match I'm looking forward to.
Who wins?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if Miss Creative Control is going to take it.
I got a feeling it's going to be bad news.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go that way too, George, but I hope they circumvent that. I hope they do a course correction and have Toni Storm.
Yeah, just give her, I'm sorry, Johnny, give Mercedes a loss and then come back to it later on. Then I could see that.
Or you could have Mercedes win it at the pay-per-view and then they have a rematch for the following Dynamite. Tony wins it back.
That'd be good. I think
more people.
So that's been done before. That's been done before in the past. Short-term championships.
Okay, so that's your favorite angle in AEW. Yes. Your least favorite's the Lashley thing, I assume.
I think everybody's least favorite.
That's the least favorite right there. It's so tone deaf that company is because they will not do a course correction on this. WWF, Jesus God Almighty, WWE
lawsuit.
Yes, WWE. I would have to say it's not the Cody return and the Cena retirement spectacle. Not a fan. I would have to say, good Lord. Probably the Heyman faction. What's going to happen with that? Any new members coming in? Is Becky Lynch going to join that thing with her husband? Who knows? I don't think so, but it could happen. You never know. I think that's probably,
it would work, but
yeah, that's probably the best angle right there that they've got going on.
I'm also really super interested into like what's going to happen with and who's all going to be in like the men's Money in the Bank. It feels like they're really stacking that match to be a real blockbuster, and it could have, especially if Punk wins the qualifier tomorrow, that could have a lot of good storyline going through it, which I mean, with Seth in it, you know both Brawns are going to get involved. Like that's just going to happen.
Sure.
Absolutely. And then, things with ladders involving Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. That just sounds entertaining for me. I'm locked in for that match specifically, and hopefully it goes well and some good stuff comes out of it for storylines into SummerSlam. But I agree with you on most. I actually am interested in Tony and Mercedes, mostly because I just hope that Mercedes realizes like maybe she should do something different, but self-awareness doesn't seem to be her strong suit.
Yeah, we'll see what she does, man.
Yeah.
Johnny, you want to plug, I'm sorry, you want to plug your stuff before we depart here at 8:45?
I don't have a lot of stuff.
Do you even know what to plug?
The Square Circle Maniacs Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name's Johnny Bottles. I host it with Dr. Don Wade. Almost forgot to put the doctor part at the end.
Yes, you did.
Dr. Don Wayne, the neckbeard psychologist, as I like to call him, from the Twitter universe.
Nice.
Because he's always fighting with these maladjusted young men on Twitter.
He does fight the good fight. Like he does.
He does fight the good fight.
He's got more patience than I do. That's for sure.
Yes, he does.
Absolutely.
Johnny, I really appreciate you coming on tonight, buddy.
Hey.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Me.
I can't believe we went 90 minutes already. Like that, it goes so fast.
That
was fun. Yeah, no, that's what we enjoy. That's what we do. That's awesome.
Well, anytime you want to have me back, just give me a heads up, fellas. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Sounds awesome. Good, Johnny. Thank you.
So much, Johnny.
Take care.
Great.
Well,
you can go. We keep going. You can go.
You sound like my wife. Okay. I'll see you guys later.
Thanks so much, buddy. Well, I don't know, George, do you want to do anything else of it, or
I just wanted to. I have next week's guest 90% confirmed, so maybe by tomorrow I'll have 100% for next week. But I'm pretty positive it's going to work out. So I'm
sweet. Well, stay tuned to the channel. I will definitely post a
channel. What channel is that? What channel is
that? Well, first off, the YouTube channel. That's the big reason we do these spaces, is to get more subscribers to there so we can continue to grow. And I will post the full version of this as well as clips onto the YouTube at youtube.com/@AltJakeTakesOn. The link is right there in the description of the spaces. I try to make it easy for folks. Also, if you go right to my X account, it's literally in my description. Click it right there. Go ahead and subscribe. We are on the march to 500. And then on my X account as well, I will post up updates of what who our next guest is, and if we have any time shifts. Next week we'll still do our regular 8:05 p.m. I don't think we have any pay-per-views in June that are going to mess us up there on Sunday. So
no, I'm trying to leave the last Sunday open for viewers.
Yeah, that's a good
listeners. So I'm kind of doing it that way.
Yeah, it's good. If anybody does have questions they want to ask during the conversation, they would just put them in the chat or put them in the comments. I'll pull them up and try to bring them in for sure. But yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you, George, for setting this up. I really, really appreciate you, my friend. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great one.